In this issue, let's look at the sci-fi comedy, Downsizing. At a global summit on population size and sustainability, the host hand-rolled a small square box and walked onto the podium. Everyone was shocked after the box was opened. They saw a shrunken man who was only 10 centimeters tall standing there. This shrinking man is Dr. Jorgen from Norway. To solve the threat of overpopulation to the natural environment, 5 years ago, he developed a program that can shrink all organic matter at the cellular level. This program can transform a human being 1.8 meters tall into only 12.9 centimeters tall. Many types of flora and fauna are suitable for this set of procedures. Except for some fish and shellfish, no side effects have been detected. Once the safety of this method is proven, Jorgen and his wife and 36 volunteers became the first humans to accept cell reduction together. The cell reduction process was short and painless. There was only slight discomfort when removing and replacing dental and other prostheses. People undergoing experiments under mild sedatives could fully recover within an hour or two after a short break. After completion, their small village, which was only 11 meters long and 7 meters wide, placed in a ventilated airtight environment to avoid weather animals and insects. And with the shrinkage of the body, the domestic waste generated by people was also greatly reduced. The amount of garbage that couldn't decompose produced by 36 people in 4 years was only one plastic bag. Then the staff used a trolley to launch 36 small people to meet everyone. One of the couples also gave birth to 2 children. Then this shrinking technology was recognized by people all over the world. 10 years later, more and more people had chosen to shrink. Paul and his wife were ordinary working-class people living a stretched life. They had reached middle age and still lived in the old house. His wife had always dreamed of moving to a big house. But Paul could only look at the bills and sigh. This day Paul and his wife, Audrey, were invited to participate in the University Alumni Association. Paul's inferiority complex grew spontaneously as he watched the alumni succeed one by one. His dream was to become a surgeon, but because his mother was seriously ill, he went home to take care of her before finishing college, so that he could only be an occupational therapist. At this time, the appearance of Dave and his wife attracted everyone's attention. They underwent reduction surgery and shared with everyone the benefits of becoming a reduced person. Paul admired Dave's courage to change the world and save the planet. But Dave said he did not have such lofty ideals. What he values was that shrinking could eliminate the pressure of money and could live like a king. After returning home, Paul and Audrey were envious of Dave's rich life after shrinking. Just then they received the news that the bank loan was rejected. Under economic pressure, they decided to visit the leisure estate where Dave was located. They saw that there were a lot of people here, and many people came to understand the situation. They learned that if they sell their current house and other properties, they could easily buy a supreme villa equivalent to 100 square meters in a leisurely environment. Because the current $152,000 was equivalent to 12.5 million in the leisure world. The benefits of getting rich overnight after becoming smaller people deeply attracted Paul and his wife. Then they started selling their houses, saying goodbye to friends, and then moving to a leisurely world. The staff told them before the operation, shrinking was permanent and irreversible, hoped they could think about it. But Paul and Audrey had made up their minds and agreed to the license agreement. Then they were taken to male and female institutions for surgery. Before surgery, medical staff would shave all hair except eyelashes after the injection of an anesthetic. Then they took out the dental fillings. If the metal objects in the human body were not taken out, there would be an explosion during the operation. Then they waited until the shrinking was complete, then put the teeth back in according to the corresponding ratio. After the preparation work was completed, the staff pushed these people into an operating room and injected the shrinking formula. Then just closed the door and started the procedure, and the surgery would be completed after a few minutes. The nurses pushed a trolley full of small beds into the operation room again. They used a small shovel to carefully shovel the shrinking people onto the small bed. Then these reduced people were sent to the small medical area to install their teeth. At this point, the entire shrinking operation had been completed. Paul did not see Audrey after waking up in the recovery room. At this time he received a call from Audrey. It turned out that after being shaved off her hair and an eyebrow, she ran home and cried. In this way, Paul was thrown into the small community by Audrey. He originally chose to shrink to enjoy life. Who knew that his partner left him before he started enjoying life? Paul lived in a luxurious villa. There were all kinds of daily necessities in the villa, but he didn't have the slightest sense of joy. The bell rang and he opened the door to see the courier take off 2 rings from the car. It turned out that Audrey sent their wedding rings. This meant that Audrey intended to give up their marriage. Paul, who was depressed, could only relieve his sorrows by drinking. At this time, the news media reported that someone was in the TV container and found 17 smaller stowaways from Vietnam. 16 of them died and only one woman named Ngoc Lan Tran survived. But the doctor had to take part in her infected leg. It was understood that due to political and environmental movements, Ngoc Lan Tran was imprisoned in a Vietnamese prison and then forced to shrink. 1 year later, Paul's wife entrusted a lawyer to send Paul a divorce property division agreement. Now there was no A4 paper, Paul could only stand on the paper. He needed to wave his arms exaggeratedly to sign the handwriting that an adult could see clearly. Paul, who became an expert after the divorce, got a job as an operator. He also moved from the villa to live in a small apartment. Paul tried to date and prepared to start a new life. He was eating at home with a single mother this day. The neighbor Dushan upstairs had a party and the music was too loud. Paul hoped he could turn the music down. Dushan went downstairs to Paul's house and invited him to a party. After the dating, she expressed the feelings about taking care of children, and didn't want the relationship with Paul to develop too fast. Paul turned around reluctantly and went home. Then he came to Dushan's house holding the roses prepared for the date. Paul met all kinds of people at the party. Driven by the atmosphere, he released himself for the first time. Paul was woken up by the doorbell in the morning and realized that he slept all night on the floor of Dushan's house. At this time, the cleaning workers entered Dushan's house and started cleaning. Although Dushan didn't have much time with Paul, he could see through Paul's frustrated heart at a glance. He suggested that Paul step out of his small world and broaden his horizons. Dushan was a shrewd businessman. He chose to shrink because he saw the business opportunities in these new small cities. For example, he took a cigar that an adult needed to buy $50. He broke it into 2,000 pieces and sold to a shrinking person to push it to $2,000. Similarly, he brought the most special luxury goods to small consumers to obtain huge profits. Paul recognized one of the cleaners was Nok Lan, who was reported on TV. With professional habits, he saw that Nok Lan's prosthesis was very bad. He suggested she go to an expert as soon as possible to get a new one and offer to make some adjustments to the existing prosthesis. But Nok Lan asked Paul to go back with her, because there was a seriously ill friend at home waiting for her to go back to deliver the medicine. The kind-hearted Paul followed Nok Lan to the slums, but Paul accidentally broke it while adjusting the prosthesis. So Paul became her assistant before putting on a new one. When Nok Lan was helping the employer clean, she took the leftovers that employers didn't eat to people in slums. 2 weeks later, Paul and Nok Lan, and others came to Dushan's house for cleaning. Dushan tried not to laugh when he saw Paul's image. He decided to save Paul from this predicament. So Dushan told Nok Lan that something big happened in the small community of origin in Norway. He needed to send a batch of very important things immediately. He needed Paul to help in an emergency. Unexpectedly, after listening, Nok Lan cried and asked to go with them. It turned out that after learning that Nok Lan was forced to become a shrinker, Dr. Jorgen wrote to Nok Lan that he never thought that getting smaller would be such a bad thing for humans. He also invited Nok Lan to his small community of origin many times. Then, a few people set off together by boat towards the destination. One night, while giving Nok Lan a leg massage, Paul couldn't hold back and kissed her. He didn't expect she also wanted it. The two naturally did some happy things. When Dushan saw them the next morning, he became this expression. After a few days, they came to the community where Joris Conrad was. Dr. Jorgen believed that the current natural ecological environment was becoming more and more powerful. Mankind was about to face the danger of extinction. To preserve the human race, he would bring a small group of people to enter the vault designed in advance. This underground vault was equipped with land for growing food, artificial sunlight, forest, and livestock. The living area was extremely wide and could be easily opened for future generations. They would come out after the surface environment was stable. Paul was moved by the bravery and dedication of these people. He also wanted to contribute to saving mankind. He thought all the experiences in the first half of his life, all were used to enter the vaulted tunnel at this right moment. But Nok Lan and Dushan persuaded Paul to go back with them. Because they thought human extinction was impossible. Even if it happened, it would be hundreds of years from now. Those who needed help were the people who were suffering around us. Paul failed and left. Nok Lan was downhearted. Dushan comforted her. Don't worry, he had never done anything. After saying goodbye to Dushan and Nok Lan, Paul entered the passage to the vault. But still not going far, he changed his mind. Seeing Paul running out of the passage, Dushan said jokingly from the side, "I said this guy could do nothing." Since then, Paul and Nok Lan had helped those who were living in poverty. Maybe it wasn't until this time that he finally realized, love what I love, do what I do, listen to my heart was the most meaningful life. Well, this issue is over here. Don't forget to like and follow me. Thank you for watching, see you next time.